family's dignity and strength over the past few days has moved people on both sides of this conflict. If it were up to you, what would you like to see happen now?
We heard about that lady, the one from Dublin trying to do something. I'm sorry, I didn't catch her name.
Mrs. McHugh.
Yes, Mrs. McHugh. And we're clinging to that. The hope that some good can come out of this, because if you'd been in there a few minutes ago, you'd know that it has to. That can't be for nothing. It has to.
I'm not here to tell any of you what to do. The truth is, I don't really have a clue.
We want to hear from you. We want as many of you as possible to stand up and speak tonight.
Because no more bombs can be planted in our name.
When I did my research on you all, I picked up your ages, and it dawned on
ages?
Ages.
Picked up your ages. About how old we all are.
No, what struck me was that all of you, apart from Vicky, were teenagers when the Warrington bomb happened. And I think you're only 10, if my maths is correct.
Wow.
So,
is that right?
Yeah, what I was going to ask you is, I mean, when you were first invited to be engaged in this film, this project, did you think, well, I don't know anything about it, or did you think, just go for it because it's an acting project and I'll, more often than not, I'll accept offers that come along? Or how did you feel when you knew what the programme was about?
Personally, I definitely had a recognition of it. It was, when you say I was I can't remember the exact age I was, but Warrington was such an event. Immediately your interest is sort of pricked with that, and it's but we knew it was the 25th sort of anniversary to mark the bombing.
Yeah.
And this really, it was an opportunity for us as actors to sort of delve into the background and your lives and to really mark that event as best we possibly could, really. So it was sort of an honour really to be asked to do it. But it was definitely in my consciousness somewhere. I don't know about the rest of the guys.
No, I didn't remember it, but I remember when I first met Fergus, the director, to talk about it, the picture of the two boys just seemed to resonate with me as if I'd recognised seeing that as a kid, because I was 10, so it, I wasn't watching the news before that. No. But for some reason the pictures just seemed to stand out, and whether or not that was just a subconscious of I'd seen it a lot as a kid because we did have a lot of newspapers, at home and that kind of thing. I don't know, but I certainly wasn't aware of what happened, and I definitely wasn't aware of what happened with Susan.
Right.
So it was quite new to me.
I didn't know about it at all.
Didn't you?
No. I didn't know about it. I've said this before, but I think I don't know exactly why I didn't know about it, but I am from a Northern Irish household, so I don't think my dad actively shielded me from things. I think probably subconsciously he did shield me from any kind of atrocity that was linked with the IRA. It certainly wasn't discussed in our house. So I didn't know about it at all.
Yeah, I can understand that. Again, I've invited you all to become patrons, and to my great delight you all said yes. Again, your frankness is expected here. I mean, do you feel comfortable being involved in a charity which its core business is the prevention of terrorist acts and also the assistance to people who've been survivors or victims of terrorist acts? I mean, does it sit with you comfortably?
Completely.
Does
It's testament to this foundation that the work that you do now is as important as the day you said it's sad, but it's a sad reality, unfortunately, that the work you do now is as necessary as it was then. And we are living in conflict all the time. And even more so now, I think, from when you started, in terms of the education that you do here and educating people about prejudice. We're dealing with that on a really major scale in this country at the moment, especially politically what we're going through, that people are living through hate and prejudice all the time.
And of course social media, it's got its pluses but it's got its minuses. I mean there's such a lot of bile and hatred and stuff that's spewed out now.
Awful assumptions that terrorism is linked with being a Muslim or terrorism. Stupid facile assumptions, and it's so important that there is a centre that is trying to educate people about how we talk about these things and break through the barriers with young people, with everybody.
Yeah. And are you happy to be advocates of that in your lives when the chance arises?
Well, the Manchester attack for me was a real shocker. I felt like it was so cold, so just so out of this world.
And targeting children.
Yeah. I mean, it was just too much to deal with. And actually, when the day arose and it happened, and it just shook the world for a bit. Yeah. And I know you said, you've since that happened, you guys have been instrumental to helping people from the attack. Is that going to happen again? Yeah, probably. It's probably highly likely. Where are people going to go? What else exists? This is the first time I've been here today, and you just go, right, I get it. I can see what's being done here now, and it's not just like a little small community centre, which is sometimes what you expect when there's charities fighting something that isn't as popular as your cancer charities and those charities that are more recognisable to people. Well, I haven't had any terrorism in my personal life, but I think attacks like the Manchester attack, it did start to filter where people went, oh God, I know somebody who knows somebody that's daughter was killed in that attack or something, and it's starting to get closer to home. So I think, given what happened to you and Wendy, it just goes to show that we're all starting to understand it a little bit better, I think. And what you do here is only going to help people that are going to be affected by it, because it's just getting out of control.
The business world, it seems to me, are the people who really ought to be taking note of what we're doing, because if there's a major 7/7, 9/11, one of those scale things, it really impacts business. The pound plummets, and trade stops, and tourism stuff. Americans don't travel when things happen in Europe. All those implications affect businesses, but how do I get the word out to them? Because there's only, in the end, a small team here trying to get the word out. So, where was I going with all this? Basically, the more committed patrons we can bring on board, all I ask is that whenever conversations, opportune moments arise, that you think, actually, I should be telling
promote the charity,
this person, that person about this foundation, and maybe effecting an introduction. I am saying that quite plainly, because that's, apart from loving you all and really getting to know you, that's fabulous. I need you to be an extension of our comms, in effect. Are you comfortable with that?
Call David Beckham.
Call David Beckham.
Do you know David?
I don't know David. I might be able to get you out in debt.
Oh dear.
Even at the weekend, the news was on and there was a report, and it wasn't specifically sort of a terror, wasn't trying to frighten anybody, but they was talking about terrorism, and it was as if they were saying this, I don't know if this is completely right, but 3,000 current people that they're monitoring at the moment.
Under surveillance, that's true.
I didn't know if my figure was right then, but it's
2,000 to
about
3,000.
that. It's not far off, where you just go, okay, so currently in this country, the police are looking into 3,000 different people that are, involved potentially in a terror attack or an event that's going to. I mean,
and the problem with that is that lots of those people are homegrown kids, just disillusioned kids who probably come from poverty, who come from who are desperate kids who've not been.
You may imagine that we only ever work out of. We go around the country.
Oh no, you do,
we work in lots of northern towns and cities, and we're mostly in the north. But again, that's for funding reasons.
Yeah.
There reaches a point where you need all those leads into these places, like I said earlier, that multiplies by a huge number our opportunities to have new conversations with people who hold purse strings, budget holders, FDs of businesses, whatever it might be, chairman of the board of company X. You might say, actually, I know him, or I know somebody else, I can get you in there. That's perfect. That is absolutely perfect, because then we'll go in and do the talking.
Yeah.
So it's providing pathways, I suppose.
Yeah. Colin needs so much more advertising for this. He needs so much. You need to be, not television advertising on that scale, but the word needs to be sort of put out there so much more to help you, because you've got something so special and unique. And I think this matter that we're talking about, terrorism and everything else, is going to get worse. And I think because you have such an extraordinary place and with extraordinary people who are all caring and specialised in your areas, you know, he will be probably using these three actors to promote this even further through the networking side.
And you're running the marathon, aren't you?
I said that. I did say that to him. I said he's got to run the marathon.
Immediately.
I said that.
We do need to run the marathon.
We need to
Do
run
the
the
three
marathon.
of you.
But my younger. Yeah, no.
I think you should do that.
Yeah.
I'll bring you the oranges.
No,
You're Danny
what's
doing
one-
that.
anything we can do, we will do it.
Yeah.
And there's no reason for us not to want to. When we all did Mother's Day, and I'm not speaking on behalf of you all, but you know, we all knew what we was walking into. We all knew the story, and we all went, this is your worst nightmare.
Yeah.
And because of the parts that we all played, we got really close to you guys, weirdly, without even meeting you. We got close to Timothy and Johnathan because we felt we had a story to tell in a way that people could understand it and it could resonate, and actually it could go out to the public and go, if you've never heard of this story, you have now. And this is reality of it, and this is the world that we're still living in today, in some ways. So there's no reason for us to turn around and say, one, of course we'll be patrons, and two, we'll do whatever we can. I think as well, we're all, fairly impatient people. When you've got something in your brain, you want it, and you want it now, and you want it to happen overnight, and often it doesn't. But if the intention's there that we're all wanting to see something change, in a short space of time, whilst the momentum is still there as well, Mother's Day wasn't on that long ago, so people will still remember the show and I'm sure still feel sort of affected by it. And now we can all say that we're patrons of the charity. That's dedication that we genuinely do care.